Ride1Up is doing some good things. Good things. I am so impressed, especially with their first moped style e-bike. All right, guys, the video you guys have been waiting for, the Ride1Up REVV. Let's get into it and check it out. Here she is, nice and beautiful as ever. This is the green model. I wanted to get the green model because I feel like everyone out there has been having that gray graphite color. And I actually had to buy this bike myself. Ride1Up did not send it to me, but they are gonna send us the basket that I think is coming tomorrow. So maybe on one of our next videos, we'll put the basket in and show you how that works. And then you can also put a battery down here. So we'll do that in probably some upcoming videos. But this thing is super nice. I've only rode it maybe a mile up and down my block. This thing is fantastic. You guys have probably already seen everything about it already. So I just want to bring you in here with the camera. Let's kind of go over the bike real quick because I know you guys know about this bike. I'm a little bit behind on my review. Then we'll hurry up and get on the ride with our GoPro and go take it somewhere out in the country. All right, so let's go over some specs of this bike, and I'll also put it on the screen on the corner so you guys can read it like that, or screenshot it, or pause the video if you want to see that. But let's kind of go over this bike, talk about it. So you do have a Bafang rear hub motor right here. This is a 750 watt motor. This bike does come with 20 by 4 inch tires, so they're nice and fat. You do have metal fenders right here. You do have a D&M rear shock right here. It does have some nice adjustments so you guys can adjust it to your preference on how you ride and your body weight and all that kind of stuff. Up here you have a very nice, comfortable seat. This is probably one of the nicest seats I've ever been on. I don't think you're ever gonna have to replace it on this, but I'll give you more information when we start riding and stuff. Coming over here, you do have your 52 volt, 20 amp hour battery. This is using 21700 Samsung cells, so it's very good, high quality on the battery. Right down here is where your storage container would sit at, or you could put an extra battery rack right here and then put a battery on it. It does have the holes already there for you, so it makes it super easy. Underneath that is where the controller sits and all the wiring. Moving to the front, you do have the nice turn signals and this headlight. I tried it out at night the other day. Super bright, probably one of the brightest lights I've actually seen, so you're gonna be very safe on the road and be able to see everything. Again, another metal fender on the front just in case you get splashed with anything, you're riding in wet conditions. Right down here is where we're gonna have, I believe this is a 180 millimeter disc. It doesn't have any numbers on it, and I couldn't find it on their website, but it looks like it's the 180 millimeter disc, so it's pretty nice. And then you do have your 4 piston hydraulic brakes right here. These things should stop super fast, so I'm gonna be very impressed when we do the brake test, I'm pretty sure. Now moving on to the handlebars over here, you're gonna see we do have a half twist throttle. You got some very nice grips. I like these grips. They're really nice and grippy, I guess you could say. We do have hydraulic brakes right here. They are no brand, so there's nothing on them. All it says is mineral oil. You got some decent cable management. I'm not hating on it. It actually looks pretty clean. I think they did a fantastic job with it. All the stuff kind of gets routed under here and then basically just goes into the frame. You don't see none of it. And then there's really nothing in the back as well. It's all tucked underneath right here. So it's pretty nice and clean setup from Ride1Up. All right, now that we're sitting on the bike, you guys can get an idea of how it's gonna look to you if you were to own one for the first time and sit on it. Over here, you do have locking grips. These are super nice and comfortable in the hands. Obviously the hydraulic brake right next to that, and then you got your button layout right here, which is the M, plus and minus for pedal assist. Then you have your on-off switch. The on-off switch also controls the headlight. So the headlight has a daytime running light that sits on 24/7, but if you want the low beam to go on, you actually have to tap this once. Once you tap it once, the headlight will come on. Then you can come over here and you can use your low beam or your high beam depending on which one you want to use. Then you do have your turn signals right here and the horn underneath that with the half throttle and the other grip on this side. And right in the middle, don't want to forget this. This is a 3.5 display, super nice. You guys are gonna love it. It's very bright. We'll check out in a little bit when we ride. All right, so now I want to go over some of the stuff you really need to know about this bike and then some of the cons that I noticed before I even actually got on the street and rode it. All right, so the first thing I want to mention is this whole back end right here, the chain guard, the tensioner, all that stuff, it looks nothing like the website, and a lot of people called them out for it. So some of the reviewers, if you noticed, this would actually hang super low and it had a longer chain. This chain on here is absolutely so tight, you get a lot of vibration as you're pedaling, and it's also clunky. So if you're pedaling backwards or pedaling forward, this bike is not great whatsoever. You guys can even hear it. Listen to that. It almost feels like the teeth are skipping, but that's just because it's so tight and there's no movement to this whatsoever. Another thing that this causes an issue with is look at where the peg position would be at. So I have the camera focused directly on it. I'll zoom in just a little bit more so you guys can see. You're not gonna be able to put pegs on this bike unless you have a very low profile bolt on the other side. But even then, you're gonna have to move that out of the way before you install it, and that's gonna be a pain in the ass. Another thing I noticed on the bike, and I guess it's not really a con, it's just something that you gotta pay attention to because you can scratch the frame or mess it up, is the fact that when you do take this battery out, you do have to take the key out. You have to unlock it and then pull the key out, then you can slide it out. Now I will like the fact that the way they set this bike up, that it's nice and protected. So if you do go down, your battery shouldn't hit the ground and bust open or probably explode. So I do like that, it's super nice. It's just make sure you take your key out when you're removing the battery. Another issue on this bike is going to be the fact that when these motor wires come out from the rear hub motor, they run all underneath here. You can't really see them too well, but there is no quick disconnect right here like a Super 73 or other bikes that we've ridden. The wires actually come all the way up here, which gives the bike a cleaner look, don't get me wrong, but now you have more work to do. So you have to take this whole entire box apart, find out where the motor wires are in there, disconnect that, then get rid of all the zip ties, then you could pull this motor off with a flat tire and then fix your flat. Another issue with this bike, and it's not the bike itself, it's actually how Ride1Up ships their bikes. I've had multiple issues in the past, and I hate to be this guy, but some of the bikes that they sent me to review a while back, they've came damaged. Thank God this one only had 2 nicks on it, but FedEx did come to my house when it was supposed to be delivered, and they said that the bike had fallen out at the warehouse when they were loading it into a truck. So it took me an extra 4 days to get my bike. Now I went onto the group pages, I want to see if this is a common issue, and yes, it's a common issue. So just be careful when you order your bike. It could come slightly damaged. Hopefully it doesn't, because when you spend $2,400 on a bike, you want it to be like in perfect condition. Another reason why these bikes are taking a while to get shipped out, the website says like 2 to 3 days. It took me, I think, a week and a half or 2 weeks before they shipped mine out, because I guess they had a headlight breaking in the box. So I don't know if they went through, because mine was zip tied to the forks with like green zip ties, so maybe they went in there to all the boxes and taped them. I'm not 100% sure, but other than that, let's get on the way and check out this bike. If you guys want to see these headlights and tail lights, I will be doing a separate video when we take it to work. We'll be using those for nighttime, like for a good 15 minutes. So check that video out when it comes out after this one. But for now, let's get our GoPro and go out there and go ride. All right, guys, so we are on the Ride1Up REVV for the very first time riding around. I got the GoPro strapped to my helmet. I got my gloves on. I got the Beyond Riders protective clothing on just in case we fall down or anything like that. And I already actually did go down 1 battery bar, and I haven't went very far. I've only done a mile before we started recording, and I charged the bike to full. So that's kind of surprising to me for a 20 amp hour battery. And keep in mind that we are unlocked, so we are on off-road mode right now. We're doing 34 miles per hour. We're actually going with the wind. And this is a fun ass comfortable bike. That's like the first thing you're gonna notice like when you get onto it, is how comfortable the bike is. This is probably absolutely a 10 out of 10 for how nice the seat is. Now I will say that if you do have any problems with sitting on it, the biggest issue you might have is that it is a little bit wide, so it might feel a little weird on your thighs, but this bike is not really made for pedaling. I think that's really gonna be the only issue, is if you're pedaling, it's gonna rub up ever so slightly up here, because this bike, I'll tell you right now, it is horrible to pedal. Absolutely just bad. This is like the worst bike to pedal. Now I will say that I like electric bikes just to kind of get around. I'm not going to be pedaling whatsoever, so I don't mind it. And when I mean bad, I'm talking like bad. Like I'm getting vibrations in the pedal. It's feeling very clunky. It almost feels like when you have a BMX bike and you do the tensioners on the back and you do the chain too tight, and then the pedals and cranks don't even want to move at all because you can't twist it. That's kind of how this feels. But man, when it takes bumps like that you just saw right there, absolutely nothing. This is nice and crisp compared to the C3 Strom. I know I'm going to mention that name a lot because these bikes are very similar. I'm going to do a separate video about it, so I'm not going to try to bring it up too much. But this is beyond comfortable. The seat's more comfortable. It has rear suspension, and overall just feels so good, especially for the price. You can't go wrong with it. All right, so I want to pull over right here, and I want to do 0 to 30 miles per hour. Keep in mind, like I said, it is very windy today. We are actually going against the wind right now, so it might be a little bit slower than average. And also, I have not got any battery charges in here yet other than its very first charge, and it already came at like 80%. So I barely had to like pump it up for another like 30 minutes or so. Once you start getting charges in this battery, the bike should do better at top speed and picking up once you kind of get those cells bounced out in there. But anyway, let's do this test real quick. So 1, 2, 3, go. We're only using the throttle, and it picks up very good 95 Newton meters of torque in this bike. It's nice and smooth. It's not like gonna throw you off the bike. It's not scary. It's not jarring or anything like that. But it is definitely decently fast to get up there. Now we're doing 30 miles per hour, or 29. Come on, 30. Come on, 30. Come on, you can do it. All right, there we go. Okay, now 30. All right, so I know I said that the pedals suck, and they really do, but if you did want to pedal this bike, you still can. It does have a pedal assist in there. It has a cadence sensor. So let's do this test going back this way until we hit 30 miles an hour, just using the pedals in assist number 5. 1, 2, 3, let's go. It's a little hard to start off. You only got one gear in the back. It's doable. It's still comfortable. Don't get me wrong. It's just a little hard to get these moving. There we go. Boom, 30 miles an hour. It's not bad. So you can do either or. It's just easier to use the throttle on this bike. This bike is moving. We're going pretty fast. 35 miles per hour almost. And these displays are 100% accurate. They're probably off, I think, like 0.3 or 0.4 mile per hour. These are great. I love the way these are set up with how the C3 Strom came and the Rev 1 came. They use basically everything the same, and these are good systems. Now, something you're gonna notice, and I didn't even notice it on the C3 Strom, Shreddy was the one that actually pointed this out to me, and it's the fact that this has a little bit of play. So as you let off, the throttle actually pulls you forward ever so slightly once you let off. And that is true, like in low speeds. High speeds, not so much. But that is a safety thing, so just be very careful with that. Another thing I also noticed too is sometimes when my pedals move and I'm on the throttle, I've noticed a little bit of cutouts. So all of a sudden it just feels like maybe a little blip of power just kind of cut and it keeps going. So it's very weird. I don't know why it's doing that. But then again, I only have, it says 2 miles on the bike, which I don't even know if that's right. I feel like we've went 3 miles so far. So, oh, okay, we got 4 miles. I'm sorry, we got 4 miles on this bike. That makes more sense. Okay. I forget that the screen changes every so often. So, you know, it says our trip and then it says a distance. So my total range on this battery since I charged it is 4 miles and we're down 1 battery bar, which still seems kind of odd. But I mean, it does have a lot of power. So I'm very curious on what our range is going to be. And I pulled over here just to kind of give you a look at the bike kind of out in the sun. It's a very nice bike, you know, other than the trash that's sitting over there. But I want to show you guys the headlight. So to turn it on, like I said, you just have to hit that once. And then the headlight little indicator will pop up on there if you guys can see that. And then you're going to have your low beam right here. And then you're going to have your high beam. So if you guys can see that at all, it kind of switches. It's a super nice light. And then you have your brake light in the back. This is actually the brightest brake light I think I've seen on an e-bike so far. Hands down, this is awesome. I'm not a fan that it's chrome. I wish it was blacked out, but it's still nice regardless. And then when you do hit the brakes, well, I can't really show you, but maybe you guys can see it with my glove. But it definitely gets very bright. Now, like I said, we'll do a video when I ride to work, and we'll ride it at nighttime for a lot of time so you guys can get an idea of different scenarios under some street lights and stuff like that. But it's a gorgeous looking bike. Something I did not notice and I forgot to mention is it does have a carbon fiber little piece right here, and that's because this chain is so close. So it's actually rubbing on mine, so it's not causing any damage to the actual frame. And I think they gave you extra ones in the box, or I had 2 extra ones in there anyway, so you guys can put more on here if this gets damaged. So that's pretty cool. Now, something I'm actually dreading is taking this bike off-roading. It is such a nice, clean-looking bike. It does have tires that are made for street and off-road, so I guess we got to do it. And we got suspension, so why not? You know, we got to test it out. We got to see how it is. I'm going to turn the headlight off to make sure we don't run that down. So let's get on the way and come up this hill. Not a single problem. Not a single problem whatsoever. I did hear like a little clunk though as it was coming up, but not a problem. Ah, I found out what was clunking. Now there's ever so slightly like a clunky noise coming from the front, and I don't know if that's the fender or the suspension itself. I mean, the bike is brand new, so it's probably breaking in, but it's so comfortable off-road, man. This is fantastic. This is like a 9.5 out of 10 for off-roading for a moped style e-bike. I'm not complaining. Absolutely not complaining. This is probably gonna be one of my favorite bikes. This thing turns fantastic as well. We just got off the dirt and I don't feel like I'm gonna slip out at all. It's super nice. Now, these aren't purely street tires. You know, you can go off-road with them and stuff like that, so they don't feel the best. But I would still give them like a 9 out of 10 because they are that good of a tire. And they're pretty thick too. They're not gonna go flat like some of these other like rubber band tires that you get one little thorn head or something like that and it's flat. So I feel like you should be able to be okay on these tires and not worry about them so much. Let's do a braking test right here. We're about like 26 miles an hour. 1, 2, 3, go. Woo-hoo-hoo. I made sure to bleed these brakes in too when I did that first mile. I was going back and forth just slamming on them. And they work damn fantastic. I'll do this test one more time in the same spot going the opposite way and let's see how these work. But I'm impressed with them so far. Very, very good brakes on this bike. I just realized that sign says bike path, but no motor vehicles or motorized bicycles. Is this a motorized bicycle? Oh, I think it is. Oh, well, I didn't see it. All right, I'm gonna try to go as fast as I can. We're doing about 30 miles an hour right now. We got wind, so this is fast. 31 miles an hour. 1, 2, 3, go. Woo. Oh my God. That is nice. I had the brakes as hard as I could push them. These tires did not lock up. That is impressive. Absolutely fantastic. That is not far at all. Literally not bad at all. Wow. Wow. Ride1Up is doing some good things. Good things. I am so impressed, especially with their first moped style e-bike. This is like fantastic. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. We're still only down 1 battery bar. And now we have, I believe, is it 8 miles or 9 miles on this bike? Oh wait, no. So our trip is 3 miles since I left the house, but our mileage is 5 miles in total. Okay, so we're still down 1 battery bar far. I thought we did 8 miles and we were down 1 battery bar. I was gonna say that's pretty good. Our max speed was 36 miles per hour at one point. Not exactly sure when that was, but it happened sometime during the video. Now, when I hit the top M button, a Bluetooth little light comes up. And I don't know if they have an app for this bike, but I didn't hear them having an app. The C3 Strom has an app, so maybe Ride1Up will come out with one, or maybe they do, and I don't know about it. But anyway, so we're not gonna use that. We're going pretty fast, guys. We're doing 35 miles per hour, 36, I thought. Oh, okay, over 36. Oh, 37, 37? Oh, no, okay, it didn't give me 37. So, to keep in context, I'm 160 pounds, just so you guys know, about 5'10". The bike feels very comfortable to me. If I was lighter, like one of my friends that weighs like 120 pounds, I think he hit like 37.5 or 38 miles per hour. So the lighter you are, the faster you're definitely gonna go. If you're on the heavier side, don't expect to get this top speed, you know, like you just gotta be more realistic about it. But this is a fantastic bike. You're definitely, even if you're like 250 pounds, you're gonna be doing 30 miles per hour. Woo! How crazy is this? 34 miles per hour in the dirt, and I don't feel like I'm being unsafe. I don't feel like there's any issues whatsoever. Like, I don't feel like this bike's gonna fall apart. I don't feel like it's sketchy whatsoever. It feels so good. Absolutely so good. The pants that someone lost are still here from the last video, huh? Someone's naked or walking around. Let's jump off the curb. Woo! Ooh, that was solid. So the bike was a little bit heavier in the front than I thought it was, so I couldn't actually pick it up and like land flat. It kind of fell forward. But nice and comfortable still going off the curb. Now, I wouldn't do anything crazy with this bike. I wouldn't go out there and jump it or anything like that because it is a very heavy bike. With it being 93 pounds, this bike is definitely on the heavy side. But it will hold someone up to 400 pounds, which is insane to me. I've never actually been on a bike that says it can hold that much weight. That is very impressive. So if you're a big person, this bike could be for you. And if you're a tall person and a short person, This is like the perfect seat height. This is about 32.5 inches from the ground. Some bikes are about 30 inches. They feel very low to the ground, like a lowered Honda Civic. This feels kind of in the middle. The YYG bike that we reviewed was 34 or 35 inches from the ground. That was absolutely way too tall. That's for people that are like over 6 foot and up. But this thing is very comfortable. I think it's gonna fit anyone from about like 5'2" to probably like 6'3" or 6'4". I think no one will have a problem riding this bike. I will say, the amount of time that I've been out here, people have been staring at this bike and checking it out. People love this thing. They think it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, real quick, we're going with the wind. This might be our highest top speed we can get on this bike. The motor is screaming. This thing is loud. 37 miles per hour. There we go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Just keep in mind, when you have a bike that it will say do like 37 miles an hour, 36 miles an hour, just keep in mind that as the battery goes down, you're gonna start losing mile per hour little by little. So as we're probably at like 50% battery, we're probably gonna be doing like maybe 32 miles per hour. So just something to keep in mind, you're not always gonna be hitting the max top speed, but I love the fact that this bike goes that fast, because then you're always going over 30 miles per hour when riding it, whatever battery charge it's at. And that is absolutely lovely. Man, we are screaming on this thing. This puts a big smile on my face. I'm loving it. Now, you guys are probably gonna be crazy when I say this, because I always like to give my bikes a rating. Sometimes I forget, and I'm mad at myself because I forget at the end of the video to say it. So before we even get to the end of the video, when I give you my final thoughts, I'm gonna tell you that this bike is a 9.5 out of 10. It's worth the money. It is definitely worth the money. And me and Shreddy, we both have coupon codes. Mine is REVV, so REVV_MRCD, which stands for MrCentralDriver, basically. So use that coupon code. I'll put it on the screen. Obviously, you guys can use that. It's 50 bucks off this bike, and it's only for a limited time. It's probably only gonna work for, I think, the end of this month when this bike and video goes out. So just keep the eye out for that. I wanna just blow through this, but too many cars, too many cars. Okay, I'm just going. What is that? Who keeps honking? That was the second person that honked at me today. Do people just know me? Maybe they know me because I do e-bike reviews in this area. I'm not sure. Or they're just honking at someone at that four-way stop. I'm not sure. Now, the only thing that I suggest adding to this bike after you get it is get a mirror. You don't really need one on both sides. It is nice to have it on both sides, but since you're gonna be in the bike lane for pretty much 9% of the time, I would probably just get a mirror for this side. I'll have a link down in the description for a nice mirror that I use for every single one of my bikes. Another thing is maybe a phone mount. You do have a lot of room up here for a phone mount, so I do like that the bars are wide enough to put some accessories on here, because most bike handlebars do not have any room right here, and it's very hard to put some accessories up there and stuff. One thing I do notice on this bike, and I didn't want to say it until I kind of rode it a little bit more, but right out the takeoff, from like 0 to like 4 miles an hour, it has like a pulsation where like it kicks on, and then it ever so slightly like kicks the power back and then picks it back up. And it only happens for like a quarter of a second. Like, it's so fast, but it's very weird. It feels like maybe there's like a loose connection or something like that, but it's only from that 0 to 4 miles per hour. Super odd. But anyways, let's get back to the house. Let me give you my final thoughts on it, and we'll end this video. I gotta make it across the street. The bike's fast enough, but everyone else is driving super slow. Oh, and a quick update, as we're going back to the house, we lost another battery bar. All right, we're back. Hopefully my hair is not too messed up in here, but it was a fun bike to ride. Honestly, this is probably one of the top bikes that came out this year so far. Like, we're probably looking at a good year for e-bikes, but for now, this one takes the cake. Overall, I would have to give this bike a 9.5 out of 10 out of everything, after checking out everything on this bike. The only cons that I have on it are the pedaling. Do not buy this bike if you want to pedal the bike. It's not very comfortable. There's no gears in the back whatsoever, so just don't buy this bike if you're going to want to pedal it. And if you're worried about the law on this bike, I would probably say stay away from this bike as well, because it does go over the legal limit once you put it on off-road mode. So just keep that in mind. But it does ship out as a 20 mile an hour class 2 e-bike, which there's a sticker on the back So you shouldn't be having any problems with the cops unless you do off-road mode. So just be on the safe side if you do. Shipment could be better on these bikes. So I'm hoping Ride1Up takes care of that on the future bikes that they send out. You have a very nice headlight, a very nice tail light, a nice screen, nice button layouts. I mean, the bike feels fantastic for my height at 5'10". I'll sit on it really quick because I forget to do that in every video. But you can see that like once the suspension kind of goes down, which you guys can adjust the back to a lot. You can lock it out, do all that stuff. I'm actually like, my legs are bent. So this is a very comfortable ride height. I think it's like 32 inches. I think we talked about 32 and a half. And it feels nice. I mean, you can see all the suspension. The front's a little bit harder than the back is, but I mean, it just makes it for a nice, comfortable ride. The seat is fantastic. I have no complaints about that. There's just ever so slightly a clunk in the front, and then the motor is very loud. These Bafang wheels are absolutely insanely loud with their motors and stuff in the back. So if you're wanting an actual very quiet bike, this is not gonna be it, because once you start getting over that 30 miles an hour, this sucker is screaming down the road. But you can't go wrong with it, especially if you save 50 bucks with my discount code and the price that the bike's at already. It's 2,400 bucks. I mean, how can you beat that for this? So we're just gonna see what comes out later in the future, and make sure you follow along with the channel because we will be putting a storage rack right here and trying that out. And then I also have a battery that actually fits this bike. Let me grab it real quick. This is the battery right here. Now it's not the brand of what the stickers are. I just do some stickers on it and stuff like that. This is a 24 amp hour battery, so 4 amp hours more than the stock one. Keep in mind though, if you do put this on your bike, it does void your warranty because you need to use batteries from the company only from Ride1Up. So if you throw this in there and they know about it, it voids your warranty. Well, all I'm saying is this fits directly in there. I have pictures on my Instagram. You guys can go check that out if you want. The cool thing about this is I have a rail right here and I could just slap this right here. So then I can have 2 batteries and I just have to swap them. The only thing that I wish companies would start doing now is I love the fact that they're giving us options to put extra batteries, like either on the rear rack, or now this is like in the center storage area, you can put an extra battery, but they do not give us the connections to hook them up together. Ingwe did a very good job of that, and I applaud them for it. It just was not a fantastic bike. It would have been lovely to see on a bike like this where they just have a port somewhere where you get an extra battery, you can just plug it right directly into it and you're done. But the way you have to do on this setup, you either get the storage rack and you can put stuff in there, or you're gonna do a battery setup and then you're just gonna have to bring 2 keys with you because they're gonna use different keys for both batteries. Then you could swap them on the go and double your range. But anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. I know we did a lot of talking. Make sure to check the links down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one when we ride this thing to work, and we'll ride it at night and we'll see how these lights and stuff perform, because you're gonna be very impressed with how this looks. So subscribe to the channel and we'll check you out in the next one. Then we'll also do a comparison of this bike versus C3 Strom and some other bikes I have in my garage. So see you guys in the next one. You got the true MVPs. Later.